Your son Isaac is corrupted by sin. He needs to be saved. I will do your best to save him, my lord, as the brother replied. Into Isaac's room, removing all that was evil for his life. Again, to him. Isaac's soul is still corrupt. He needs to be cut off from his evil in this world and confess his sins. I would do my instructions, my lord. It in thee, Isaac replied. He locked Isaac in his room for his. Man, I'm sorry. I tried. One last time. Oh my God, not the Eternal Edition. Welcome again. Oh my God, we're not doing Eternal Edition until like I get some things squared away. It's fun, kinda. It's also treacherous in hell. Anyways, welcome. Let's see here. Okay, I got that over there. All right. Okay, good. It's daily today. I haven't been playing in like a few days, and we're Blue Baby. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I haven't been playing in a few days. It's November 3rd, so hello. This comes out in December something. So, yeah, I've been just super busy, super busy, super tired. I still gotta catch up on sleep and stuff, but like I've been feeling pretty pumped the last week or so, which is kind of funny. It's like I feel pumped. Oh my God, I feel pumped, but also I've been tired. I had a lot to do. My God, but that's been kind of quieting down for the most part. Yeah, it's in the evening right now. It's like probably after 9 o'clock, I think. Let's see. It's 10 o'clock right now. Cool. Splendid. Yeah, so what I've been up to, you might be wondering. Well, let's see here. I had a lot of errands I had to do. I thought about maybe doing Isaac's stuff, like before I had to leave in the morning, but I didn't have time. I had to do a bunch of other things, and then I had to leave and do whatever. So I've been very busy. I know I'm not being very specific with what I've been doing, but like it's kind of just private matters I had to kind of attend to. Yeah. I guess I could talk a little bit about some encounters I had and stuff, but not go into very specifics. Ran into some interesting people. That's a couple of weeks or so. So that was interesting. Let's see, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. I was helping this blind person out with some things, and because I was out and about, and there was this blind person who needed assistance with something, and he had to go somewhere else to do some errands, and so like kind of put me in the position because I volunteered to help him and stuff, and because nobody else can really do a whole lot. And anyways, I was talking with him and stuff like that. I talked to some business person or someone at the desk, at this desk place. Hey, could you like see about calling a cab company to like, give them a ride somewhere, because I wasn't really familiar with the cab companies and stuff like around here, and I was gonna let someone else to like make the call for them, but I was also letting the guy know about like, hey, the call is gonna come, stuff like that. Cab's gonna come, and whatever. And I was talking with them for about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. So he didn't feel like he was alone. And he asked all sorts of questions. You know, who I am, what year I was born, where I was from, all sorts of stuff. That's about my hometown. I knew a lot about my hometown. So I guess he used to drive through there. I guess this person I was talking to... Man, my throat's dry. Like, I don't know if it's just the salt up adding this water or what the deal is. Or maybe because I was running. Anyways, it must be when I was running because I was having issues beforehand. Anyways, yeah, just talking with him and everything. And then I helped him get in the cab and stuff. And asked me, oh, you know about this radio station? What about the Long John Silver's? Is the menus the same as what it was like 20 years ago with this and this? And I kind of told him, it's like, listen, I never ate at a Long John Silver's before, so I can't really say for certain if it's any better or any worse. So I assume it's worse. I don't know. I can't make that judgment. But yeah, supposedly this guy is kind of fairly well known in town. He knows his directions, surprisingly. Even though he's blind, he knows his directions. And I think that explains why, like, the downtown, because, like, I was always wondering about downtown. They installed these voice systems to, like, I can't even get it over there. It's like this, so you got the traffic buttons, right, to do something with the traffic. You know what I mean? Like, get to crossing. And it's supposed to, like, set something up to where you can cross by pressing the button. Or not pressing the button to cross, but like presses the button to do something with the traffic lights. That way it gives you the indication to cross. And also warn the drivers that you're going to be crossing too. So anyways, they have something like that, only it's voice active. It tells you the voice is saying wait. It says cross this street. For a while, I never seen that being used for like a blind person or anything. So recently, there's a person that person came through in this business place, I suppose I visited too, and I just happened to be there, and well, I guess he was crossing different streets and everything. And he was worried about if he would have fallen, then his sister would have put him in a nursing home and stuff. And I'm like, geez. I could understand, like, if he falls or something like that, gets any injured, he can seriously hurt himself. And then, you know, you got to force your hands sometimes, and it's an unfortunate thing. But he was able to get into the cab and let the cab driver know where he needs to go and whatever. That's good. And supposedly this guy, being well known as he is, I guess he used to be like very belligerent and angry with people. Give them every cuss word imaginable to them. And from what I heard, he calmed down. What about the pog face thing going on here? Or is that just the effect from the cricket's head? Anyways, that was the thing, I guess. All right. You know, this run is kind of like cursed here, by the way. I want to add. It's very dangerous. I'm gonna have to go to the shop and hopefully get a soul heart. But he didn't like get angry with me or short with me or anything like that, so that's good. I was very kind with him. We talked and whatever, did all sorts of stuff. Kind of passed a little bit of the time. Hopefully they fix this so I don't get... Well... I'm a little worried now. Maybe. Unless they fix it. Careful here. It's a 5-room, huh? Okay. Looks like... Nope, they didn't fix it. Okay. Well, thank God we kept our bomb. Well, that ain't much of anything, I guess, but let's hope we stayed alive. Yeah, like I'm surprised you, like, I was talking to someone about it. It's like, I'm surprised you didn't know who this guy was, you know? I'm like, well, I've been here for a few years, so, like, I mean, it's possible I might have seen him, but then I don't recall ever seeing him, period. I mean, I remember seeing him. I don't know of him or whatever, his origin stories. They will go, well, let's check in here because I might have black cards. Okay, you know what? Well, it won't even matter about the black card there because we won't be able to get it. Or we want to get back in here. That was the chance we wanted to get the black card. Okay! Now this is looking interesting. Yeah. And then there was another lady I seen elsewhere. She came in and she was like talking about like, oh yeah, I was expecting that there was going to be people with AK-47s and barrettes, like beret hats or whatever, red beret hats, communists or something like that. She said. I'm like, okay. Kind of said to her, is like, it's pretty chill around here for the most part. We don't do that. None of that kind of happens, typically. They're still talking about like she was trying to get something done, I think, at this desk or whatever. And I guess she was being asked for some ID or whatever, and then she's like, "I'm not gonna give you any ID." Da, 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 you know, going on and on. Or actually, no. Before they asked for ID. I guess they were like, she was like, "I just let you know, I'm not gonna give you any ID. I'm not gonna give you this and that and whatever." She kept going on and on. I'm like, what the hell? Then eventually she just gives the ID to these people. I'm like, okay. And seems like she just kept rambling on and on instead of like, you know, getting to the point of, you know, getting in and out of there for whatever she was doing there. And yeah, it was, because she was talking about like Michigan this, Michigan that. Oh, this, did you hear about there in Detroit? Because I guess she's from Michigan. Because I guess they were talking about, she was talking about her ID being of Michigan and stuff. But it seems like she just kept going on and on instead of like, you know, letting these people to do their stuff. So I assume like what was happening was this lady had some form of schizophrenia or whatever, because she was talking about like, oh yeah, I have lung cancer, this COVID stuff I have to be very careful about. And she's talking about having PTSD and talking about all sorts of stuff too, with health issues. Not saying that it's not true or anything. I'm just saying like, I just realized like we missed the dice room back. That's fine. Oh, hello again. Just these troll bombs. That's like the third one I found. Judas Priest. Yeah, so I'm not really blaming. Just kind of a disclaimer here. I'm not like making fun of her or anything like that, of her disability and mocking her or anything. I'm just saying exactly what's kind of happening at that point. Which it catches me off guard because I don't really see it that often, kind of deal. I've heard of it going on. I've seen some of it online, like on YouTube videos over the years. I learned a little bit of it in psychology class, but I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not here to really diagnose her. It's more on the lines of like, you know, what I assume could be wrong with her. It's an unfortunate thing. I did see her somewhere else too, weeks before, another business, and I recognized her from somewhere else, and she was talking to some people at some booth, and she kept going on and on about something, and then kind of left. I didn't really put two and two together until I seen her, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I know who this is. I mean, not like the name or anything, but like, I know of this person I've seen. Recognize the kind of the demeanor and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'll say there is quite a bit of mental illness in the world. You know, people having different kind of issues and stuff, and I'm just kind of using it as let's see, what do you call it? The word anecdote. What's the anecdotal? No, is it anecdotal? Anecdotal? You know what I mean? Anecdotes, anecdotes, whatever. You know what I mean? Basically, kind of like experiences I had personally, and then I'm kind of attributing to what my opinion is with this kind of stuff and yada yada. Especially my hometown, it has a lot of that, mental illness issues. There's a lot less resources for people to have those addressed, unfortunately. Partly it's like, you know, insurance issues, cost of insurance and the coverage and stuff, and then the other part of it is like, you know, availability to resources to like afford to do those kind of things. I have the ability to do those kind of things with getting those kind of issues addressed. Now, just kind of throwing this out here, just the disclaimer, I'm not saying that all medicine is like, you know, medicine for helping for mental illness is not an effect. Okay, so let me back up here. Sorry, I'm kind of a little bit I'm a little bit all over the place tonight. What I'm saying is just a disclaimer. Man, I am tired. I'm sorry. My words are just all over the place tonight. Just a disclaimer. I'm not saying that medicine is ineffective. In fact, like, you know, for psychiatric issues, you know, depression, anxiety, etc., etc. In fact, there's to some degree some good use to like helping with individuals that can't seem to address those kind of certain personal issues, you know, where there's like different, you know, chemical makeup in the brain and stuff like that they can't really fix easily or whatever. But I would say that there's been such an abuse with the this kind of that industry of like providing that kind of medicine to people to where it causes issues, even more issues than it should. And there's been studies that show that like about antidepressants being more likely to make you suicidal, ironically, and things like that. Changes the chemical structure in your brain, the gray matter and stuff like that, and do more harm than good at times. But I'm not saying that it's across the board with everybody, see? But it happens enough times to where it can be a concern. There's a book I've read, I don't know which one it was, that kind of talks about this stuff. And one of the good points that it brings up about in regards to like this kind of a issue is sometimes, some doctors, not all of them, some doctors may just take the shortcut and give them the medicine to alleviate any causes to the issue they're having at hand. So like depression, anxiety, etc., etc. But they're not. But the problem is, it's not addressing the core of the issue. See, sometimes. Well, some of them it can't. Okay, it's complicated. So like, a good chunk, I feel like, doesn't address the issue completely on hand, right? So some doctors, they take the shortcut of giving you more medicine, and then you build up a tolerance, of course. And then as you build up a tolerance, then you have this kind of this cycle where it's like, you build up a tolerance of it, then it works a little bit better or whatever. And then as time goes on, you have to have more and more, or you have to switch off to other medicine, stuff like that. You may have like different side effect issues and stuff like that as time goes on, because a lot of them do. It's pharmaceutical stuff, and they have a lot of money and power. And I feel like a good chunk of those kind of issues can be addressed. It is tied to like some kind of a personal issue, you know what I mean, like trauma and stuff. Now, I'm just throwing the word trauma out there because, like, I'm not really, you know, just throwing out there just willy-nilly. There are people who do have trauma issues and stuff, and I'm not, you know, saying that it's always a culprit. But it can be sometimes a culprit. It's kind of complicated, I guess, what I'm getting at with this, this spiel. And like for example, and this is kind of maybe a weak example or whatever. Have it at your will with it, but the way I see it is usually with those kind of individuals being stuck in that kind of those circumstances like that. When you address the issue, you're also addressing the symptoms of the problems. You see, there's a book. I think the book was The Body Keeps the Score. A really good book. I think they were talking about that. Also, You Are the Placebo might be touched a little bit on that. I think too. Another good book. They're kind of talking about like how the medicine isn't really effective as what people believe it to be. In some cases, I'm not saying like all cases. It's a complicated issue. Let's just say, like I keep like kind of backtracking here, like trying to say this, but then I have to be careful about saying that and whatever. It's a very touchy issue. It's a very controversial issue. I'm not trying to make it political or anything, but it's like you have to. Like, sometimes you have to address the issue in order to address, like, the symptoms of the problems you're having, right? So, like, for example, people would use alcohol as a way to cope with personal life matters or whatever, right? And then they kind of rely on that in order to make themselves feel good and stuff, right? So, or, like, mask the pain. Of course, what happens is when you mask the pain, it's going to come back. Then you have to reinforce the alcohol or whatever else substance in order to, like, you know, not address it. And so, like, the books I was reading, my God, these troll bombs. The books I was reading, of course, was talking about you have to address the issue in order to fix the symptoms of what you're having, right? So, like, EMDR, for example, that's a type of therapy where I guess it's very similar to hypnosis, I suppose. And using like a REM process. And there's been studies where it's been shown to be very highly effective with people with PTSD. They've been using it for military veterans who are in that critical need of, you know, processing a lot of things. They've been using it for firefighters and all sorts of kind of things. And then there was a point where even some people who were on like, oh, that was a small rock, that's cool. Even the point where like people who were on some people that were on medications for this kind of issue, trying to fix depression, anxiety, they didn't have to have anymore. Now the thing with EMDR though is like everybody's different. There's no linear like thing or indication of whether this is going to like work for you immediately or whatever. It depends on how your subconscious is, how you're raised, everything, all these circumstances. And whether it be effective with you or not, right? So some people, they may have issues trying to process stuff because their subconscious is like highly defensible. So then you have to do something like the empty chair technique or the gestalt technique, where you're trying to address the person through an imagination. Sometimes you may be under, well, you'd be under some form of EMDR, whether through processing or through just going under to address the issue. So that way later on you can, if successful, you can try to see about going through the painful memories or whatever. And cool thing about it is you don't have to have a complete memory. You could, like, especially with trauma victims, they may have issues with regards to remembering their abuse, either in full details or it's very abstract or something. But if they have a general little, you know, mustard seed of, like, memory of it or something, or some kind of, like, you know, stuff you learned from someone. You don't want to have false memories or anything, but, like, you know, full-blown, like, imagine something. Well, actually, well, okay, so be careful with that, too, I say. Let me backtrack. So, like, you can imagine a scenario of your typical day of, you know, start to finish or whatever, that has the kind of this generalized, you know, typical scenario, you know, surroundings, everything, right? And that's going to be kind of your base, your foundation of, like, how you address it. And then there's different just techniques to get through processing all that. And depending on the person, too, if they have, like, PTSD, then they would have to create, like, a safe space prior to even get into the EMDR and whatever else. And kind of assess them for other things, too, like being suicidal or self-harm or anything like that. Very complicated process. Like, I don't know much of, like, any of that. So take this kind of, this information here is not... Okay, so take this information as something... Alright, so don't take this information as being, like, medical advice or anything. Just do what you think is necessary, and... I'm not good with this, I'm sorry. Do what you think is necessary, and or consult with your doctor or psychiatrist or anything like that. Because I don't want you to feel like as though this is like solid advice I'm giving you. It's like, I'm not, you know, a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor. I've taken some psychology classes, but they never talked about EMDR at all in them. They say that, like, there's no cure for PTSD, and I beg to differ with, you know, groundbreaking results with not only EMDR, empty chair technique, and especially mindfulness. That's another thing too. With different things. It takes time, and it's not impossible to deal with. It's not. Some people may think it's impossible, but it's not. It takes time, that's the thing. That's what kind of tricks people sometimes. Sometimes it's, you know, you're going to feel something quickly enough. Or sometimes it may take much longer. You may not even notice much of the results. You know what I mean? But you have to kind of keep going through the process, especially with EMDR stuff. Like, sometimes, there's some cases I've read that I was very interested in reading about it, because it's like it's not really new, but it's been taken off the last several years more and more. Becoming more and more of a practice and more of an interest for psychologists to be trained officially and to, you know, help people. They do want to help people. I know someone personally who went through some EMDR, and they had some issues too with them, and they were making some good progress and stuff. Let's just say. So if you guys are out there kind of doing the process, you're not sure. Sometimes you have, okay, the thing with it about it is sometimes you have to endure the pain before you can process the pain completely, you know what I mean? So like, it's gonna be painful, like not physically, not emotionally. You're not gonna die from it, you know, processing it out or anything. But in order to address the issue on hand, because trauma is all tied to like another, where there's trauma, whether it's like something that's, you know, negatively happened to you. You can even treat the symptoms too. You could, if you don't have any painful memories, you can treat the symptoms you're having too. You can also treat phobias and everything else as well, which is pretty interesting. It's fascinating stuff, but it may or may not help everybody. I have read, so just kind of keep that in consideration. But it's kind of hard to say whether it will help you or not, because the thing is, it takes time for it to get processed out, and everybody's different. So I say stick with it. And some stuff I've read too about some people when they go through this process, they tend to like be avoidant with making scheduled appointments in the future to continue their EMDR stuff. I encourage you to continue as well with it if you are doing it and you're having concerns, because that's just kind of a defense mechanism that's like subconscious that don't want to address the pain. Of course, again, I'm not a psychologist. This is just my assumption to some degree, and some things I've read. So I'm not, yeah. I'm just gonna kind of close it with this because it's like, it gets kind of touchy. It's like, it's based on anecdotes. I've seen people with it, doing it, and it's also like stuff I've read online from psychologists and stuff. Now, I would definitely say don't do like YouTube videos or anything else of yourself to try to process it. That's one thing I would recommend not to do. Reason why is because you can open Pandora's box, and then you're going to have to find psychologists to try to help mitigate the issue and reduce those like triggers or whatever you might have stirred up. I would recommend too, if you can, do it in person, because I feel like there's more of a human connection with people instead of on a digital screen. And in case if something happens, you get the person right there to comfort you, you know what I mean? As opposed to like on a screen. So yeah, there's kind of my little tidbit, I suppose, of whatever. Stuff I've read, stuff I've kind of seen with people doing it. I'm not trying to make it political either. I'm just kind of like trying to be helpful with what I've seen, what had to some degree had some effectiveness to it. Because the person I know that went through with it so far, their PTSD symptoms have been decreasing. Like one of the traumatic stories that he had, he can actually tell and not actually be triggered or have any flashbacks or anything. It's amazing. And he's been processing some things out. I mean, he's got some ways to go, but like, it's been working for him pretty nicely. And I know it can be scary, and I admit it can. I think it can be scary because some people different people react differently. They don't know whether it's going to trigger them further or not. But I can assure you, there's different methods in mind. The psychologist has for tools to kind of mitigate any flashbacks or whatever. So there's that, I suppose. That little tidbit. Kind of lasts a little longer than usual about it. Because I've read all sorts of research, and there's like brain scans too of people with PTSD. Because like they have certain regions in the brain, mostly like the amygdala and whatever else. And the underactiveness of the prefrontal cortex. And then how like they show different brain scans before and after. Certain amount of sessions. And they show like different shifts of the changes in the wiring in the brain and how well, not wiring the brain. Well, yeah, it's partly wiring of the brain and partly reactivation of regions that were kind of laying mostly dormant. It strengthens connections. But what's very interesting about EMDR too is not only you're processing very similar to, well, it's a REM processing, so it's very similar to if you're dreaming. So as you're awake and you're coming up with this memory or scenario or whatever, processing the feelings out of your body. There's another thing too. So like your body holds on to the trauma inside the body. So again, the book I read and I recommend is The Body Keeps the Score. It talks about trauma being trapped in the body and stuff. It's very fascinating. And when you're under, you feel some feelings of in your body you haven't felt before. Tightness here. You know, it could be tightness, it could be pressure, or whatever. And that's trauma in the body. And if that gets released out of the body, all that energy is held on there. When it gets released, so too will be the trauma memory attached to it. It's very fascinating to read that. So it's tied to a trauma memory or event or whatever. I think too, I mean, perhaps maybe the let's see what good fulfills. I think too, the issue at hand. I mean, not the issue at hand. So I think too. Of course, I'm not a doctor here. My theory is like to. You may not have it lifted at first, like out of your body, but maybe the emotion or memory doesn't trigger you anymore, and you may not get those feelings as much, or not at all later on. I don't know, because like a lot of the work too, it doesn't just happen at the session you go to. It happens also outside the session when you're just doing your normal day-to-day things. Sometimes you may cry, sometimes you may have like lots of bouts of anger and stuff like that, or whatever. It just depends on how your subconscious kind of processes things out. And you can let the psychologist know and whatever to, hey, I'm having these kind of issues or whatever, and try to schedule to come in sooner or whatever. Or you do the recommendation, do the happy place stuff that you had set aside in case any of that kind of stuff happens. Justice. I recommend too doing daily thought journals. how you feel or whatever, what could be triggering certain things that may cause anger or sadness or whatever. And kind of talk to your psychologist about it too. Which is a key piece of intel that's also going to help them to see what else could be lurking under the surface, you know what I mean? Try to kind of narrow things down, so to speak. And it may seem like it's hard at first, but it would also be kind of therapeutic too to do, I would think. But over time, like, you know, you start to be feeling better or whatever. It may, sometimes it could be something subtle, sometimes it could be something significant, it just depends. And there's been things too I've read. Sometimes people may start remembering things. What? It didn't go in the last phase. Okay. I'll just kind of, 576 plays. If we got the boss rush in time, we probably would get down pretty significantly with rank. I'll finish this with this too. Sometimes you may remember little things, sometimes a lot of things, or sometimes not at all. But it depends on the person, how long you're doing it, and all sorts of different like stuff. Okay. Anyways, sorry about that. I just kind of went on a bit of a discussion on mental health and stuff. Little things. Again, this is not medical advice. Consult with your doctor, psychologist, whatever. You know, do what is appropriate and necessary and whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna write a big old thing on there about do this and that and consider this and consider that, but like just kind of anecdotes kind of thing. Stuff I've read, stuff I've seen. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.